Welcome to my 300-pound life. I had the day off from work today, so after a morning of burritoing in bed...
But why are there so many burrito packages on the ground? There's so many burrito packages.
Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric and I'm back at you with another video, and today I'm going to cover Deanna Garwal, otherwise known as DecidedlyDeanna on TikTok. She has over 22,000 followers listening to her spew her lies and garbage about it being okay to be fat. In fact, she walks around like she's fat liberation savior, and I'm here to tell you she's just as much of a liar and an idiot as all the other fat activists that we cover on this channel. Now, I know some of you don't like me calling them idiots, but when they're out there actively hurting people, I don't care. There's actually an army of us who are working together to help get this message out there that it's not okay to be overweight, that you can overcome obesity, that you can overcome binging and all these other things, because we've all done it. We're all working on it, and it's a work in progress. None of us are perfect, but you don't have to accept being overweight because it's only going to harm you in the end. You can help me get that message out there by subscribing to this channel, by liking, by leaving a comment, by sharing this video, or even joining to be a member to help support this channel in any way that you can, and I greatly appreciate it. But for right now, we're going to get into DecidedlyDeanna right now.
I don't know what plus-size person needs to hear this, but carbs are an essential macronutrient for your diet, and anyone who tells you differently is just trying to profit off of your pain and suffering. Cheers!
Are you seriously going to sit there and eat an entire large pizza and say that anybody who says carbs are bad are trying to profit off of your tears and failures? Are you kidding me? For one, that's a sign that you're addicted to carbohydrates, to eat that entire pizza. One slice of pizza? Okay, pizza is not the best for you. As a former pizzaholic, I used to munch on that stuff all the time, and I gained a ton of weight on it. You're not supposed to be eating that much pizza, Deanna. There are plenty of people out there who survive not eating carbs. In fact, they are in the best shape of their life. So again, this is another fat activist lie that just because we say carbs are bad, we're trying to profit off of your misery. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell you the truth about carbohydrates. The key here is moderation. And you obviously are not moderating anything if you're going to eat that whole pizza by yourself.
Welcome to FaceTime for the Fats, a series where I, a fat, talk about things that only plus-size people will understand. And today, I need to talk about the tokenism that happens to plus-size people and the subsequent brain rot that I have felt as a result of said tokenism. So here's where I'm coming from with this. I have been creating content on and off since January of 2023, and I really picked it back up in August of 2023. And over the course of this year, I've come to realize that exactly where I'm meant to be is making content specifically regarding fat activism, fat liberation, etc. Through that journey, I've also felt this nagging sense that there isn't a place for me. And do I believe that? No. But I also don't think that feelings are best left in the dark. Because some of the thoughts that I have and some things that I'm working out in therapy revolve around like, oh, well, I can name X, Y, and Z plus-size beauty creators. There's already enough of us. Or, you know, there's so many plus-size fashion creators. Who needs another plus-size person talking about travel? And here comes in the tokenism and the brain rot. Because as plus-size people, we have been conditioned to believe that if we see one of us on a beauty campaign, on our Instagram feeds, on TikTok, whatever it might be, if we see one of us, that is enough. It's not. It's especially not enough when we see that the overwhelming amount of influencers, content creators, models, people in the public eye don't represent, at least in the United States, the majority of people who look like me.
To say that the majority of people out there look like you is a bold-faced lie. They are not 300 pounds, okay? Yeah, the fat population is indeed growing, and it is because of content like you, and you don't realize how dangerous you are. Do you see this right here? Do you see what they're doing? They want more fat representation. They're trying to take up more space for themselves. They're trying to say we need more fat role models out there, and we absolutely do not. There are enough fat kids out there already right now. And the number of fat kids are growing because they see people like Deanna get on YouTube, get on TikTok, get on Instagram and say, hey, it's good being fat. You can be fat like me. You can be a supermodel. You can be an actress. You can do whatever you want and be fat. And when the absolute truth is you cannot do that. You cannot do it. There are kids dying of obesity. There are kids who have adult onset diabetes. Diabetes that's not supposed to hit you until you're an adult. They're getting it as kids.
Mama, may I have cookie?
No, Diabito. Roll back to kitchen.
Oh.
Kids who are 300, 400, 500 pounds. Teenagers who are dying of heart attacks. This is a real problem in our society. And yeah, Tony is ranting again. And that's a good thing because we need to stop this before it gets worse. We need to stop people like Deanna before she keeps going out there and saying we need more fat representation, because we absolutely do not need more people like her spewing her lies and getting more people to think it's okay to be fat.
You also feel a pit drop into the bottom of your belly at the mere thought of attending Thanksgiving dinner, aka the biggest lightning rod for diet culture, fat phobia, concern trolling, food policing. I am here to equip you with all of the reminders that you need to get through the day. But first, let's take a deep breath, shall we? Yes, I am very serious. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Ready? All right. There is a difference between keeping the peace and protecting your peace. If protecting your peace looks like secluding yourself for a little bit when you hear your relatives body shaming other people, do it. If it looks like telling your Ozempic touting, boundary breaking uncle to f off straight to his face, I mean, are you sure you want another plate? Yes. Yes, I am. Do not restrict because someone else doesn't know how to mind their own business. And on that note, you deserve to eat. Period. Point blank. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snacks, all of it. I promise not skipping meals in order to save yourself for dinner is an act of self-love. Do not dress to shrink yourself, especially on a day where there's lots of food involved. Let your body expand and relax. It's okay to exist while fat. The diet that your aunt is raving about, it's only going to harm her in the long run. Do not take this as a sign to start one too. And finally, the fat phobic things that your relatives have to say says everything about them and not a thing about you.
Isn't she just a peach, y'all? I mean, on a day when gluttony is widespread and everybody in the family is having seconds and thirds, when you get in that extra helping of mashed potatoes or stuffing, when everybody's having their second piece of apple pie or pumpkin pie with the extra whipped cream on top, when there's appetizers and snacks and hors d'oeuvres galore throughout the entire day and large breakfasts and everything else, if you're the one that everybody's targeting and saying, honey, do you really need that extra plate? Maybe you have a problem because you are eating everybody else out of house and home when there's plenty of food to usually go around. And like you said in your previous video, everybody looks like you anyways, right? So if everybody in your family is 300 pounds, then why are they fat shaming you when they themselves are fat? I don't get that. If you saw somebody in your family who was doing something that was damaging to themselves, wouldn't you want to speak up? Wouldn't you want to say something, or would you want them to say, mind your business? Nobody should care about you. Nobody should love you enough to warn you about what you're doing. And that diet that your aunt is trying, at least she's trying something. If you're inspired by your aunt who's trying to lose weight, who's actively trying to do something about a problem because she realizes that she can't keep going on that way, that she's gonna die early if she doesn't get some help, that maybe her body hurts tremendously from carrying all that extra weight, maybe her body's breaking down, like, you should applaud her for actually trying to try something. I mean, this whole rant shows just how triggered she is by anything to do with so-called diet culture. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She just wants to go to your house and eat up all the turkey, all the extra helping, and all the extra desserts, and not give a damn about what anybody else has to say or do. And that's absolutely ridiculous.
Welcome to FaceTime for the Fats, a series where I, a fat, talk about things that only plus-size girlies will understand. I had a war flashback to elementary and middle school yesterday, and we need to talk about it. And it was all triggered because someone on my previous video talked about how when they were in theater, they had to be in charge of the curtains because the school didn't have any costumes that would fit them and didn't go out of their way to make sure that there was any. It reminded me of when I was in middle school, when I wanted to play volleyball and my school didn't have any uniforms in my size, so they made my mom make one. While everyone else on the team ended up having like the matching set, looking really cute, I had to come to games wearing a blue t-shirt with felted letters on it with my school's name and black yoga pants. I have many thoughts on this. First things first. All kids ever want to do is belong. It is age appropriate for them to want to socialize, want to be part of a group, a team. With that includes the habits of going to practice together, meals together, uniforms. So you're going to sit here and tell me that a child who's already being ostracized and bullied for their body size now also has to endure the extra layer of visibly looking different in another way, both within their own team and when they go to new places where they don't know the kids, the parents, who's out there as a threat to them. And that's not even touching the fact that schools will highly encourage plus-size students to participate in team sports, aka shame them and their parents until they do it, and then not even provide the equipment that they need.
As a former fat kid, I have a lot of insight in what she's talking about here, and some of it is bullcrap and some of it is truth. Yes, it's very difficult for a fat kid to get around in school because they don't really have a lot of sizes for costumes and things like that. I was part of the drama team. I was part of several plays at my middle school, and there was no problems whatsoever. I didn't have to wear a costume. Everything was great. You can go and buy yourself what you need for the sizes that you need to be able to participate. You don't have to wear a costume. So what she's talking about is bullcrap. You can go to Walmart and find a 3X or 4X or whatever and just put on the costume that you need to dress up in. You don't have to wear the costumes that they provide. Of course, a lot of schools don't expect kids to be that big. Yes, kids are getting bigger and bigger. I said that in my previous rant. But they don't really have the infrastructure set up yet for that. They weren't trying to exclude me from things. In fact, I was able to participate in whatever I wanted to participate in. I wanted to play football. And guess what? It was difficult putting my jersey on because I was too big for the jersey, right? It like hung down to here just below my man boobs, and my belly stuck out while I was trying to play football because they didn't have a jersey big enough for me. One of the coach's wives had to take 2 belts for my pants and sew them together just so I could wear a belt. They did everything they could to include me, but I also had to do what everybody else had to do to play football. If I wasn't able to go out and exercise and run around the field and do the things I needed to do to play football, then guess what? I couldn't play football because that's expected. This idea that schools don't want fat kids to participate in things is absolutely wrong because I was able to participate in every single thing that I wanted to participate in. It's tough being a fat kid. I totally understand that. Again, it was my problem. I was overeating. I was gaining weight. I was making it a problem. And I didn't listen to my parents who lovingly tried to warn me about my size, tried to help me to lose weight, tried to get me to ride exercise bikes. I know that's torture for a lot of fat kids and they grow up and develop some sort of complex about it, but they did it out of love because they didn't want me to get to the point where I was. So while you're out there saying all this stuff about your parents and family members who say stuff about you being fat, they do so out of concern and love for you because they don't want you to have to face those difficulties that you're just talking about, because those difficulties are going to happen. We do not fit in this society, and it's not society's fault. It's your fault.
Welcome to FaceTime for the Fats, a series where I, a fat, talk about things that only plus-size people will understand. We talk about this really fucking weird idea that all fat people smell and how damaging that is. Because as someone who was a plus-size child and is now a plus-size adult, I have been hyper vigilant about the way that I smell for my entire life because of this. And even as someone who is deeply involved in learning about and participating in conversations about fat liberation, I have no idea where this comes from. Not a single clue. But I certainly know its impacts. Because when I go up in my comments, especially on Instagram, I'll see like 13-year-olds who otherwise talk about Roblox up in my comments being like, file this under posts you can smell. Huh? Even like when I go to the gym, a place where people, despite the amount of deodorant they put on, might smell, I'm extra aware that I don't. And this goes all the way back to when I was a kid, whether it would be for gym class or even on just any casual Tuesday. There's always this pressure to not smell. So like, can anyone let me know what the history of this propaganda is, or like, let me know if you relate, because I know I cannot be the only one. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to smell nice, but it's the hypervigilance based on fat-phobic propaganda that I have a problem with.
There's a reason why people think fat people smell, probably because the interactions they've had with fat people in the past prove to be smelly. I mean, it's just something that fat people have to deal with. They smell. A lot of it is because of a lack of hygiene. We don't take as many showers. I take a shower every morning before I go to work. I am hypervigilant about it because I know it happens. I know that I start to smell. When I was at my heaviest, I was completely smelly. And I wouldn't notice it because there's a thing called nose blindness. You don't often notice when you smell. But other people do notice it because they're around you all the time. And if you think, especially when you go to the gym, that you don't smell because you don't smell it, that's an absolutely ridiculous statement. Almost everybody smells when they go to the gym because they're working out. They sweat. Sweat is smelly. It's part of the whole bacteria thing that goes on. And guess what? Under your breasts and your rolls and everything, that's where bacteria live. And so when you're sweating there, and they have no choice but to sweat, no matter how much deodorant you put on, you're going to sweat there. And where there's sweat, there's bacteria. And where there's bacteria, there's smell. And so that's exactly what happens. And every single roll of your body is very hard, especially if you got rashes under there and there's yeast, and especially in the summertime, it's really, really bad. Now, this past summer, after losing 200 pounds, it was nowhere near as bad as it did when I was at my heaviest. So I smelled better this past year, but I still smelled, especially if I went out for lunch break and I tried to go for a walk and I came back, like I was really smelly. So that's why I started taking deodorant and stuff to work. I mean, that's just the way it is. You have to get used to it. No matter what you do, you're going to be smelly as a big person because you have rolls, and rolls sweat, and sweat breeds bacteria. That's what happens. And so just trying to say, oh, it's just propaganda against fat people, maybe realize that people who sit next to fat people, maybe in the office, maybe in airplanes, maybe they smell fat people all the time, and they realize, yeah, they don't probably take as good care of themselves as they should. No matter how vigilant you think you are about it, it's going to happen. So stop saying it's propaganda, stop saying it's lies or it's a stereotype that's not true, because it absolutely is true. Anyways, guys, that's my video for today. I hope you liked it. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please subscribe. Please help get this video out there. I greatly appreciate it. I love you all. God bless you.